Hey folks, Shane here. I just wanted to do a quick video here today on the topic of combining cardiovascular or aerobic training with your resistance training program. Concurrent training is simply the addition of aerobic training to a training program. So think about an Olympic athlete, they're going to be doing strength, power oriented training, well depending on their discipline. They're also going to be incorporating some training to maximize cardiovascular adaptations. And there may be different times where they prioritize one or the other, depending on the sport. Why would you do both? Well, the American College of Sport Medicine, CDC, both recommend doing 5 moderate sessions of cardiovascular exercise of about 30 minutes per week, or 3 20-minute sessions of vigorous exercise per week, in addition to 2 resistance training sessions. Now, what are some considerations that we might have for incorporating cardiovascular training into our program? Well, one is the training type. So a study by Azevedo and colleagues, which compared 2 groups who were both engaged in a resistance training program, and then they were incorporating active recovery cardio sessions. So with the active recovery, one group was doing running, the other group was doing cycling. And what they found was that the group doing cycling had less symptoms or fewer symptoms of DOMS, delayed onset muscular soreness, after the intense training bout. And they had slightly lower levels of hormones, inflammatory cytokines that would be indicative of inflammation following the training bout. So those things went back down to baseline sooner in the group that was doing biking. Another thing is training status. So the more highly trained you are, the more jacked you are, the more difficult it is going to be to maximize your cardiovascular output. You're probably not going to become like a top level marathon runner if your main goal is to get strong and jacked. Now, you can get more fit, you can have better VO2 max, better resting heart rate, etc. by doing some cardio over the week, but like I said, probably not going to maximize that. So training status means, if you're like Mike and you're pretty jacked, it's going to be difficult to become a marathon runner. Sorry, Mike. But, Mike still manages to bike in here to work several times per week, several times per day, in fact, without any effect on getting huge. So you can incorporate cardio, just be aware of how much you do and how far along you are in your training journey. For novices, you can probably just do like cardio, resistance training all in the one session, no big deal. You're going to get better at both. And then finally, we'll just think about calorie and energy availability. So work by Herman Poncer and colleagues found that there isn't a linear relationship between exercise activity and calorie expenditure, meaning that even though doing more activity is going to burn more calories, it's not necessarily that you can just keep burning more and more calories by doing more and more activity. At a certain point, what's going to happen is you're going to find ways to reduce calorie burn throughout the day. Maybe you fidget less, maybe you feel a little bit colder, maybe you just don't voluntarily get up from your chair quite as often. So this is called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. So these things tend to go down the more and more exercise that you try to do. So past a certain point, it's not that you'll get no benefit, but there's a lot of diminishing returns. And if you're in an energy deficit, meaning you're dieting or whatnot, that is going to be a little bit worse. You're going to experience more of those effects, meaning that the worst time to just try to ramp up your cardiovascular activity is in the middle of a diet. It's going to accrue a bigger fatigue cost. It's going to burn more resources that you could have for effective resistance training. So keep the cardio sessions short, to the point, and don't try to just cardio yourself to your weight loss goal. Give yourself time, give yourself the calories. Incorporating cardiovascular training, resistance training is very simple. It doesn't have to be an either or choice that you only do one or the other. You just have to be sensible about the type of training you do, the duration, and also how close you do them together. So if you're doing a challenging resistance training, it's probably not the best time to do a very challenging cardiovascular exercise straight afterwards. Maybe separated by a couple of hours, 3-6 hours. And for that, most people are going to be just fine doing that. Let me know what you think. Enjoy.